Hi everyone, please take note of the following disclaimer. Please note that this video is for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes. It does not constitute financial advice. We are not registered financial advisors. QDTE, is it still good? It's a question that I get every once in a while that I still get. So I believe the reason why is because prior to me liquidating our RRSP accounts, I'm not going to get into the reason why, but it has to do with the non-residency, et cetera, et cetera. But prior to liquidating them, my wife and I pretty much had QDTE as our main core prime position on DRIP in our RRSPs, right? So we just had QDTE on drip and it was just compounding away. So once in a while I get the question, Adrian, do you still think QDT is a good ETF, is a good fund? Because obviously most of you watching are still Canadian residents. You still have your RRSPs, and obviously the goal of the RRSP is to grow your wealth. Whether you're drawing down from it or growing it, you could still use covered call ETFs and just put them on drip, and that just transforms them into an income strategy, to a growth strategy. So we had chosen QDT because my favorite index is the Nasdaq-100 of all time. Sorry, my favorite index of all time is the Nasdaq-100 index. And in the US, QDT was, I believe, the first to come out with the zero DTE strategy. So is it still good? Would I still hold it in our RSPs if we were still Canadian residents, for examples, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let's go through it. So what is QDT? Well, it's the Innovation 100 Zero DTE covered call ETF. It's basically the Nasdaq 100 covered call ETF, guys. And they use a zero DTE strategy, which means they're writing a call option every single day. And it has a weekly distribution. The weekly distribution varies greatly. The latest distribution, by the way, I'm filming this at the end of the year, but the latest distribution was massive, but that's because it's probably the final distribution, and ETFs have a clause where I believe they have to pay out all their capital gains. So that's probably why there's a massive distribution. So you're not going to expect $1.90. Probably it's going to go back to normal next week. You're definitely not going to expect the 300% yield, but most likely it'll go back down, or it'll go back to the typical 25 cent. And if you have, a spike in volatility, maybe you'll get a little bit higher here. But typically the yield on this, I believe, is about 25-30%, right? So let's just say it's 20 cents seems to be a very consistent number in terms of weekly distribution. So if you do 20 cents times 52, that's $10 divided by the current price, or the current NAV, which is, where is it? 32. Let's just say it's 33 times 100. It's about 30% yield. Yeah, so it's typically 30% yield. But of course, we need to remember, guys, that yield is not return. I repeat, yield is not your return. So in terms of the question, Adrian, is it still good? Well, we have to do a total return comparison. So what we'll do is, the first thing is, obviously it's very easy to compare Nasdaq 100 cover call ETFs or S&P 500 cover call ETFs or Russell 2000. You just compare it to the corresponding ETF. In this case, it's QQQM, right? The Invesco Nasdaq 100 ETF, QQQM. There's also QQQ, but QQQM has a slightly smaller management fee, so we'll do the comparison to QQQM. This is total return, guys. So this includes dividends reinvested at the top. The top chart is the most important chart. If you're dripping, number one question you're going to ask is, how is QDT doing total return wise versus QQQM? The answer is it's doing really well, actually. It took a bit of a hit in April when there was that huge one-day rally. I made a whole video about that, but it looks like it's slowly, and this was my prediction, catching up to QQQM, and possibly it'll be on par or maybe outperform it. But either way, in terms of performance, is it good? That's the number one thing you should look at, not the management fee, not the nonsense you see on Reddit about people who don't know what they're talking about. It's the numbers. It's the math. Math and numbers can never lie to you. I could lie to you. You could lie to yourself. Numbers don't lie. So it's underperforming QQQM by a little bit, but considering how close it is, I would say QDT is doing a fairly good job in terms of total return. It's delivering that weekly distribution. which you could do whatever you want with, right? Spend it, reinvest all of it, reinvest half of it. That's the flexibility. That's the advantage of these covered call ETFs. It's kind of like an automated drawdown flexibility that you do whatever you want with that weekly income. So in terms of comparing it to just the index, it's doing really well. It's, it's underperforming a little bit, but remember QDT has no leverage, right? So for a covered call ETF to do fairly similar performance without leverage to the underlying, I consider it really good. What about its main competition? So the three other what I feel are the best or top Nasdaq-100 covered call ETFs on the US stock market is GPIC from Goldman Sachs. I always use GPIC's GPIX, that's the S&P 500 one, and GPIC, the Q is the Nasdaq-100 as my benchmarks. Okay, whenever I'm doing a comparison for any S&P 500 covered call ETF, the first thing I compare to is GPIX. And for the Nasdaq-100, the first thing I compare to is GPIC. Why? Because I think this is the most classic ETF you could have. It's a consistent 10% annual yield, monthly distribution, low management fee of 35 basis points, over $1 billion AUM. It's doing really well here. Actually, $2 billion AUM. This I always compare it to this for me is like the benchmark of the Nasdaq-100 covered call ETFs. QQQI is another really good one from NEOS. Very, very popular, even more popular at 7.5 billion. So even more popular than GPIC. Management fees higher at 68 basis points. The yield is higher at 14. And then the last but not least, the one I'm probably most excited about is TDAQ. This is the one from Tap Alpha. So out of these three, TDAQ is the only one that does a zero DTE strategy. You see the MER is about the same as the NEOS one, and the distribution rate or the annual yield is about 17%. So this one's about 30% yield. This is 10% yield. This is 14% yield. This is 17% yield. But of course, yield is not returned. So first thing we did is QDT versus QQQM. We did that. What about QDT versus GPIC? That's a very important analysis. It's not QPIC, it's GPIC. So let's see the totals. The first thing you'll notice is the charts are extremely close. Of course, that makes sense. It's a Nasdaq-100. And you see that QDTE is outperforming slightly, very, 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 very slightly GPIC. In fact, after that one-day huge rally, you could see that. I'll try to make it as big as I can here. You could see that it was comfortably outperforming GPIC at one moment, at one time here. QDT is the black bar. GPIC is the blue bar. But you see right here, right when there was that huge market rally, because they did a call, they're doing calls every day, it lagged behind. But it basically caught up. So my prediction was that they were going to catch up, and I was right. So QDT, GPIC, pretty much neck and neck in terms of performance. Same performance I expect, unless there's some sort of 10, 12, 15% rally in one day, which I think is hopefully QDT learned their lesson about that. But that's the biggest risk to a zero DTE cover call strategy, guys. A one day humongous jump where that strike price just gets obliterated, right? And, it goes up, QDT goes up 2 or 3% instead of 7, 8, 9, 10%. But I don't, it's extremely rare what happened in April, that one day rally. April was a crazy month with those Trump tariff declarations, which ended up being a nothing burger as usual. It was just fear. So yeah, QDT doing well versus GPIC. What about QQQI, the NEOS one? Let's see that. Outperforming it by a little bit, which is a good sign as well. And TDAQ, well, we don't have much data because TDAQ's only been out for not even 4 months, but you see that it's actually outperforming TDAQ as well. It wasn't earlier. You see TDAQ is blue. Now it is, but it's a very, very similar strategy. I expect TDAQ and QDT to be very close in performance over time. So the short answer is, if you still have QDT in your RRSP because I got it and you just copied me and you have it on drip and you're trying to grow your RRSP, I would say the answer is yes, QDT is still good. It's still doing its job. It's still keeping up with not only its competition, doing better than its competition in the cover call space, but it's actually keeping up with the Nasdaq-100. So hopefully that answers your question. But what I'm most excited about, the $1 million question you're going to ask me is, would you keep it? Well, now we're having finally leveraged, lightly, modestly leveraged covered call ETFs coming out. So TDAQ, Tap Alpha is coming out with a 30% leverage version of T-SPY and TDAQ, and NEOS is coming out with a leverage version of their SPY-I, QQQI, also BTCI, and maybe other ones, and they might be using up to 50% leverage. So if I was still a resident Canadian, if I still had my RRSPs, if I still had QDTE, I would pay very, very close attention to those two new ETFs that are going to come out. I think it's going to give QDTE a run for its money. Of course, if you're adding a little bit of leverage to something that's really good, like that's working well, like QQQI and TDAQ, over time, the leverage is going to help the total return. So I wouldn't be surprised if Roundhill launches their own. Maybe they already came out with a prospectus. I don't know. Lightly leveraged version of QDTE. So that I would be very, very interested in. And most likely I would swap the QDTE into either the leveraged QDTE or the leveraged QQQI or the leveraged TDAQ. You guys know that I'm a big fan of covered calls and a little bit of leverage to try to mitigate that gap. But in terms of answering the question, yes, QDT is still good and it's still doing its job. Give me a thumbs up, like the video, guys. It really helps. I would really appreciate it. Let me know what else you want me to cover on the US side. I know I haven't covered any US ETFs in a while. Of course, I cover these every single month in my monthly series where I go over the whole landscape. But yeah, it's the excitement. I think it's going to be a crazy and a great 2026 for the US covered call space, because now you have NEOS and Tap Alpha and probably others will follow, coming out with lightly leveraged, modestly leveraged versions of, diversified or index funds. Of course, Rex Shares is already in the game, but they only have it on the single tickers. So I think that's going to be a new trend coming. So take care, everyone. Stay safe, stay passive, stay healthy, and stay honorable. See you next time.